From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, ranking Star Wars. That's what we do. This is Star Wars Ranked. I'm Ken Napzok. This is technically the guest. Ghost description.
I like being a technical guest. I'm experiencing great tension because the cord from my light is just about to fall on the camera, and I'm trying to decide whether to let that have be a tension the entire episode for me, or to quickly move it. I think I'll embrace moving. Wow.
You embrace the move.
The whole computer could have exploded. Everything could have fallen apart.
Could have. It could have indeed. Yes, we need the full concentration today because we've got quite a doozy to rank. We've been doing, as we lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is why this series was kind of created and put into place here in Star Wars Rank, this Star Wars Rank sub-series. We're ranking our favorite scenes in Star Wars movies, working our way up from episode 1 through episode 9. Solo last time out, and now we're here with Rogue One. Joseph, 10 years of Rogue One. Let that number sink in.
I reject it. I try to reject it, and then I look at, some of the actors that we get to spend time with, and like, it's nice to know that famous people age too.
Yes. Yes. Or get dentures put in. There's a lot of things going on when you watch this movie. Rogue One, as you say so well, is often the most safe movie at a Star Wars party, or at a party when you talk Star Wars, right? Is that still the case for you?
Yeah, and I felt that rewatching it. I love the movie so much, and I have continued to love it more over the years, and appreciate it more over the years. But there is still something, about it that is like, because there is many fantastical elements, and it is a little bit more gritty and real. And at the same time, still so full of like Star Wars, great weird stuff. That it is just like it is just sort of I think perfect for a lot of people who love Star Wars in a specific way, but really don't want anything silly.
And that definitely connects to Andor and all that stuff we'll talk about. And I'll say right up top right now, when I sat down I rewatched this movie this weekend and made my little potential list of scenes to talk about, I was like, all right, pretend Andor doesn't exist and just kind of go back to the things that have inspired you in this movie over the years. It's impossible, and I'm sure it might come up, but there's some moments that I've watched this movie since Andor's come out, but I don't know, maybe because I was focused on it. There's some moments where I was like, oh, that means even more now to me, more than I thought previously. So we'll see how much it comes up. I don't know how you approach that.
It's going to come up a lot because I think, as I was watching it, I was thinking about like this moment for me always worked in when it was just Rogue One and there was no Andor, and all of Andor's everything I've done is like, we saw the tip of the iceberg with Tivic. We knew what he was willing to do. The fact that he considered killing Galen is like, it always worked. It didn't need Andor to make it work,
right?
But it became richer. And I think it is a great example. A lot of times, when you're talking to somebody who, maybe they didn't like a part of a specific Star Wars movie, and you're just like, hey, yeah, they clarified that in a book, and you'll get the stories shouldn't need books to make sense, and it's not that they need books to make sense, or comic books, or holocron entries on a website. Is that sometimes they become richer and they have a second layer. It's like, when you know a friend really well because you hang out with them at the bar, and then one time they invite you over to their house for a party, and they're kind of like a big loud fun slob at the bar, and then you come over and they're an immaculate gardener and their house is perfect. Like, I already loved my friend. But now I see a new layer of identity to my friend,
Yes. Yes. It's like when people hang out with you and I in a Star Wars hotel lobby bar. They're like, wow, those guys are fun. You bring that up. I think that's part of this movie's legacy. And this is not a full retrospective of Rogue One. We might do that later this year, but I can't deny that, like, I still have friends who joke about, I know, did you read Catalyst? It makes the movie better. But you're right, like the novelization, Rebel Rising, and Catalyst, it's this little world that now we have Andor and other things that have expanded out of this. But yeah, that was this little sweet spot. And yeah, I wish you all read the books. There are moments that don't even need a TV series that followed. There's moments where you understand Jyn even more, and that comes from some of the books. So it is what it is. It's part of the legacy. Reshoots. books, all those conversation talking points that are now just kind of normal. A lot of them introduced with this film.
Yes,
So.
yes, and I do want to throw out quickly. I think this with Force Awakens might be my wife's favorite Star Wars movie. I think she really saw something in Jyn, felt something in Jyn. She likes the whole movie, but she really connects with Jyn. She loved it, I think, more than I did coming out of the movie theater the very first viewing. And this weekend, she was like, I know that you often have to or need to watch Star Wars for research, so sometimes it's not exactly what you feel like just watching on a casual Saturday night. But she's like, I really feel like watching a Star Wars movie, and it's like, that's great because I need to rewatch Rogue One. And she hasn't read many books, but she's read the novelization and she's read Rebel Rising, and we recently watched Andor season 2. And like, partially I bring that up just to because we often share with other people in our lives feel. But she was so into it, and she was like, this is my favorite scene. Here's what I'd say if I was on the podcast. But sometimes I think when we talk about Rogue One as the safest to bring up at a party, I think sometimes people who do look like a little bit more gritty and hard edged Star Wars and nothing silly, they do like it. But like, my wife is not gritty and hard edged, and she loves silly. And there is a humanity and a hope in desperate times that speaks to her in Rogue One. So I really wanted to highlight that to say, I think there are a lot of reasons that people love Rogue One.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll echo that too. I don't think he'll actually make the list because we're talking about scenes, which gets, what's an action sequence, what's a big set piece, what's a scene, what's a moment. I believe it or not, Raddus doesn't really come up on my list, though I've spent 10 years saying how much I love Admiral Raddus and all this stuff. But like, yeah, that sigh and that May the Force be with you, Rogue One is not dark and gritty. It is bittersweet. It is trying to hold on to hope. It is poignant. There's a lot going on in this movie that I'm sure later in the year we'll talk about it. We'll go back into the kind of the roller coaster of, oh my God, I don't know, me, Sarah, Ryan, Ryan, his wife. Yeah, we all saw it and had a great time at the Rest in Peace Cinerama Dome.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we did, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It'll come back.
It will.
All right. There we go. So there you go. Let's get to it. 10-1. I'll start it out here. Again, talking about scenes. I got I play it pretty fair today.
Okay.
I don't kind of push the definition scenes. I think I broke one up just to get 2 moments in. But you mentioned I'm going to start. I was like, how do I start off? I'm going off for number 10, and how do I really start this off? You might be looking for smaller scenes, but it is a smaller scene. And it is a conversation starter that was key to any conversation about Rogue One at those parties, showing some of the stuff. And we're not mocking the dark and gritty. It's just become this kind of cliche. I get what people mean by that, both with the Andor series and going back to this movie. And for me, there was many conversations around Andor and Tivic. I have to start the list with that because it is this. We're on the rings of Kafrene. We're couldn't remember that name Tivic in a trivia contest against Alex Damon. I'll never forget it now, even though I knew it before. But it is simple, it is quick, but talk about a tone setter. Talk about what is actually going on. And I think there's many other moments with Andor in this movie that you're like, okay, that can leap off. I can see where you're like, let's leap off with this character into a series, but I don't think you need any of them other than this one. This one could have inspired what we end up getting with Andor because of what's going on. And this poor guy Tivic just got his hurt arm. He's he's justifiably nervous and anxious. Just wants to get on with his day. Just wants to get information. And he's shot by a rebel. And 10 years on, I think maybe now the conversation around this movie takes moments like this for granted. I think it was a little bit of a swerve in the way, meaning like, especially if you grew up in the 80s, good guys, bad guys. Star Wars doesn't deal with shades of gray as much as other things do, I think. But like, there's a bigger discussion for that maybe. But like, this is a moment where you're like, holy bleep, this movie's different. This movie has got something else going on. And it is fun to watch Andor do its work then, and it is now. And I still feel for Tivic, and I still think it was, I guess, the right thing to do, but also not the right thing to do. So it's brings up a lot of questions, set the tone, and it's fun to rewatch it 10 years later and go, oh yeah, I I know what Andor's been doing up to this point, so that's where I start.
I think that's a fantastic scene to choose because I think it lays out so much, and I think one of the things I came to appreciate about Rogue One is how much of it is the rebels versus the Empire, and is, having the hope to stand up against this big fascist foe. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it is also about, like, how do you fight a rebellion? And I think the seeds of Andor are in there too, of like, when do you just fight like the enemy because you have to? And when do you fight differently? Because what's the point of doing this if you're not going to do things different than your enemy? That sort of constant battle. And like, will the rebellion, will the alliance hold together? Or will they fall apart? And I think when I first saw it, like literally the first time, and started appreciating it more the second time, it felt like, okay, when is everybody just going to agree to go fight the Empire? And like, well, the whole point is that is the conflict of the movie. That is that they have to fight themselves in order to fight the Empire. And that really starts with the scene of Tivic of, I'm with this other rebel cell, and I'm not supposed to be communicating information to you, this guy I trust from another rebel cell. And just the paranoia of Saw's right. There are spies everywhere. It's all falling apart. And just that of like, ooh, if we can cling together and form something, maybe we can be this tiny little fighter who can kind of poke at this giant enemy. But we can't, maybe we can't even do that. That mood, it sets the tone so well. And, give Cassian Andor, or rather Diego Luna, the Oscar in retrospect for the look on his face after he shoots Tivic, of just like like, I don't have time for this, but I will spend 3 seconds feeling mournful and shameful that I had to do that. And in the larger context of now getting to spend time with him, he walked away from Luthen. He believes trust is the way to go. You got to build something bigger. You can't be going around doing all these awful things and have no trust within each other. But also, he learned the lessons of Luthen, and this is the same guy who shot Mothma's driver because he's had to. And a thing that's in Rogue One and a thing that is in Andor that I appreciate is that, like, you get captured, you're gonna spill the beans. And I think that's what it's about. It's like, well, the Empire will find out what he knows,
Oh yeah.
And it's just,
look, love Tivic, but I don't think he's holding up to torture from the stormtrooper. Sorry, buddy.
He doesn't seem like in a good place. No.
No, doesn't think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, great stuff. There you go. That's it. That's a retrospective of Rogue One based on one scene. I think it's a great one. But all right, I'm looking at the list, man. Did I play it right? We'll find out. It's not a silly contest. We're all winning here today, but it's up to you now for our number 9 choice. But your first one.
Yes, it is difficult because you want to engineer. You want to get in all your favorites, but you want to engineer a good number 1. There's one scene that I realize I'm banking on you covering, so I might.
There's one I didn't even put down. I was like, I'm not even writing that down because I trust Joseph's guy.
Okay. And it might be this one, and I'm just going there because it needs to be on the list, and I think it frames our conversation. And that is Vader's hallway.
Okay, I did put that, but I had a question mark because I was like, is it a scene? Yeah, it's a scene.
Oh, it's a scene. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, it's a great scene. There's so much to love about this horrific scene of murder. I think it works on the multi levels of Star Wars. It is, weird, cool space fantasy. It is a demon in armor with a laser sword and magic. So it is all the weird pulpiness of Star Wars. But it also just has so much like heart and depth and meaning, as you and I have talked about a lot. In a way, I feel like this scene has so much power because of our long relationship with Vader, the audience's desire to sort of see him at his full power unleashed. There's that sort of Star Wars fandom part of it. There's this is a little horror movie part of it. But I love it when a long story has a big idea, and then there's like a little scene that's almost like a poem that like is, and here's the whole idea in a shorter form. And I think all of Rogue One, all of Andor, a lot of this whole rebellion period is, yes, it is extremely difficult to stand up to a giant, evil, powerful force, and many, many, many people are going to die attempting to do it. But if all of these people with limited power can work together, the largest, most powerful evil can be defied. And that is what's happening in this hallway. The whole film is this baton of hope, baton of information of this person passes it off just before they die. This person passes it off just before they die. And then to have that be literalized of just like these troops who cannot stand up to Vader in any way, but just individually, but together they can pass that information. They can pass that baton of hope up to the guy who's like, what all of us would do, like, door must open because to get information through, but also monster and I'm going to die. And realize that here. Actually, it isn't about me. It's about the bigger picture. It's about the information. And that fits through the door. So I'll just scream, take it, take it. And then standing there, watching Vader stand there, watching the ship go, knowing all his thoughts about, I'm going to be judged for my failure. All this, his frustration behind the mask is palpable. Yes. So I wanted to start with the biggest picture. That is the most important thing. But also we talk about horror. It is a monster movie. It is Darth Vader is Michael Myers. It is an unknowable, unstoppable killing force. For me, the best Halloween movies in the movie series are the ones where Michael Myers is unknowable. And people are just like, we don't even know why this guy in a mask wants to kill us, but he's just walking down the street, killing everybody he sees. We don't even really know why. And I think the way the scene is framed, it's cool for us as Star Wars fans when the blade ignites from the darkness. And we're like, oh yeah, we've been waiting for this, Darth Vader Unleashed. But from the perspective of those rebel troopers, like, they haven't watched Star Wars. Maybe one weirdo goes on to them about the Sith and the rumors, but they're used to being shot at by troopers. And now there's a demon. Now there's a myth marching down this hallway, slaughtering them in unknowable, impossible ways. And so you get to see Vader fresh through their eyes.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. They don't have, whispered, rumored around, sure, but they don't have like trading cards.
They don't know the stats, right?
Yeah. Well said. I mean, we could do an hour.
I know.
In fact, some people want to be like, "Why is it so low?" But I actually kind of agree with you putting it here, starting it out. I think there's better scene work in terms of dialogue and characters and interplay. But this is a little short film, and I think it over the years I specifically in my own soul have looked at the scene with different kind of eyes and praised it for different things at different times. The Star Wars horror short that this is, I've always talked about how actually one of my favorite shots is in the complete light. Once Vader's through and there's the complete white part of the hallway and you see those guys fight him as the doors close. And it's the most like realistic kind of view of Vader I've seen. It's just like, it ain't got the mood lighting. That's just a dude in a hallway slicing people up.
Yep.
And these guys are like, I love that aspect of it. And I do think it's okay. I remember even when I wrote about this in my book, it's like I wanted to celebrate the Vader Unleashed. I wanted to celebrate that we had kind of been waiting for this. I would say you see him fully functional in the original trilogy, but there's especially when the prequels came and he doesn't get into the suit till a little bit late, and that was a little bit of the kind of angst around you get Vader back and he yells Padme no and all this stuff, and it's like, yes, that's the way it should have been, and I've totally changed my view on that. But you carry that from 2005, and you want to see badass Vader be badass because he is, and he's still one of the coolest designs in the history of film, and all that kind of stuff. So you get to see it, and I had kind of, I don't know about you and your first experience of the film, but even though there's this mention of alert Vader, stuff's going on, I kind of had forgot. Like it just was, there's so much going on. And so I too, when that hallway goes dark and you're like, oh, bleep, are they going to do it? Are they? Oh my God. I mean, I don't want to ever overlook the, badass vibes. I think over the years, especially as ForceCenter went on, I don't want to say don't speak for you, but I don't want to say that I felt this responsibility, but I just see so many. The cult of Vader is strong.
Mhm.
George himself has many times over the years been like, I think you all got the wrong idea. But at the same time, it's like, George, look at this. This is cool. This is playground stuff. This is what we did with our action figures. It's cool. But yes, there's this big theme behind it. I love when you speak about it, looking through the eyes of the rebels. I think that is so true, and that's what makes it kind of this horror film. And then I've said it so many times, but I think it's just so simple. The praise of Vader is understandable. But the praise of Vader never actually stops to see what's going on. And it is just simple. Vader spends his entire career marching down hallways or into rooms as the biggest badass in the land and never gets what he wants. And if people haven't really stopped to think about it, I want them to think about that. From New Hope to Empire, going into Hoth, Jedi, it only stops when he stops marching into hallways as Vader. When he takes the mask off and leads with compassion, that's the change happening. Kenobi, the series, they have a great shot of him literally marching down a hallway, never gets what he wants, and that's what I love about the scene. It puts it on full display, and I love how you describe this as this is almost the movie. A little microcosm in terms of what the Empire has got going on and how they're not going to get what they want in the end. So anyways, you're right. We could do an hour, but I think it's a great choice.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is about my first viewing of it. This is one where I think I was in danger of, we hadn't talked about speculate responsibly yet, because that sort of idea of like, don't, judge the film based on what you felt should have happened before you even see it. Instead, engage with what you're presented with. All that came from Last Jedi. But I was in danger. Right. I was in danger with Rogue One, because we talked a lot about when Vader was announced and confirmed. I was like, I really want to see him go full badass. And we talked about it on an early episode of like, hey, I think in like the end of Act 2 into Act 3, the kind of all is lost moment, Vader should slaughter a bunch of people and make them go, we need Kenobi. I had weird preconceived notions about what point in the film Vader should come slaughter people. So I was enjoying Rogue One, but I was getting nervous as what went on. Of like, is Vader's appearance just a business meeting with Krennic? Because
yes,
and then so I was the opposite of you when Tarkin said, "We got to go to Scarif. Alert Lord Vader." I was like, yes, and that was. Please, thank you. And then it's like, okay, it's getting closer and closer to the end. Almost all the main characters are dead. And then when Vader's like, boarding party, I was like, okay, good. And then I will never forget, my first viewing was at the Cinerama Dome, and there's a woman behind me when the blade ignited, just went, oh shit, extremely loud. Extremely loud. And I was reminiscing with my wife about it when we watched Rogue One. She was like, I don't know if you know how joyful you were. Like, joy was radiating off of you while Vader was killing those men. And it is what it is. It's enjoying it as the way we enjoy horror, as a peek into darkness that we don't want to be a part of, but we want to exorcise from ourselves. And also the sadness of he all those men die for nothing. He gets nothing.
Yeah, nothing indeed. All right, Vader in the hallway at number 9. Even though I said I understand it, as I give my second choice R8, maybe I don't understand it, but
just needed to be in there.
It just needed to be in there. Well, because again, there was I put a question mark because again, I'm like, all right, is this a scene? It's a scene, but yeah, it's a different kind of scene. I'm going to jump back a little bit, and I think it's going to, if we're coming off the adrenaline of talking about Vader, we're going to slow down a little bit and just talk about something that I think is just a great scene. It's a great tone setter for this movie, and that I immediately was like, oh, I love what they're doing here. And that is the cold open.
Ooh.
I'm going to go to the cold open.
Nice.
I love it. Lamu, which if you read Catalyst, you knew that they ran there. Krennic shows up. He parks far away. He's got to make an entrance. He's got to walk. I know there's probably censors and reasons for it, but I love that part of it. Got young Jen. We got our only view of Lyra, who I think's a great character again in Catalyst, and we don't see her a lot on screen, and maybe that's unfortunate. But what I just like about it is, and I've said this before, I love how 7, 8, and 9 look in terms of those saga films. I think they're all got great shots, pieces of art within those films. I would not change a thing. I like how Solo and Rogue One, and then therefore also I guess Andor look. It just I'm a bricks and screws guy. I think it just works. It's kind of when all this was announced in 2012 and new films are coming, I kind of envision them looking like this. And again, no problem with Force Awakens. I'll take JJ doing the Apocalypse Now shot all day. I'll take all that, and JJ and his team. But when this hit, and I'm sitting in theater the first time, I was like, yes, this is the aesthetic I kind of wanted to see. I want to see the threads on those outfits. I want it, and I've always danced around this. The acting starts, especially the acting. The sequel trilogy is marvelous. I think all the way through the acting's great, but George had a little stiffer style going on the prequels. Parts of original trilogy, particularly New Hope, are a little bit, they make fun of George all the time. George, you can't say this. No problem with it. And especially have come around to understand the prequels a lot more, to be clear, for those who maybe are new here or some newish here. I'm not saying it's good, but to watch Mendelsohn and Mads Mikkelsen just go toe to toe in this quiet, subtle scene full of comedy, full of history. Everything. Mendelssohn's read on some of the lines is just amazing. Oh, look, it's a miracle. She's back for all the stuff, and it's a peaceful life for Mads. Like I love that scene. And often when I'm in that, hey, I want to watch Star Wars. What's on the Rogue One? I want to watch that scene. I could live in it for a long time, and I take that up to some of the. To young Jyn running away. I love the tag. In fact, I don't know the first time you saw it, but the first time I saw it was a press screening, which is normally duller. It's people less excited to see fun things. But when Saw opens the door and is like, come on, the mission is long, journey is long, whatever it is, people cheered. People cheered. So I just love it. There's a lot of depth to be found in it for sure, but I just like that you have these two top actors in Star Wars. It reads different than some other things for me and sets the tone for the aesthetic that I love in Star Wars. So there you go. Hold open for my point.
I am right there with you. I think one of the things that it highlights is that Krennic is a different villain. He is a little bit more down to earth in a certain way. He's a little bit more wry. Like we've got, I love that we have many different kinds of villains, but in the original trilogy, the Emperor is scheming and says kind of double meaning, layered things. But a lot of the people we meet are just sort of true believers and toadies. And to meet this guy who, I know we love Krennic because I don't think he's a true believer. I think if the Republic had stayed as democratic, he would still be doing whatever awful things he could do to get the corner office. He's just a guy who wants the corner office. And I think there's something a little bit more human and direct about his kind of fascism, of just sort of like, I'm selling widgets and I want to be the best at it. And the widget happens to be fascism, and I kind of don't really care. And I think that comes across in the beginning with that great exchange of, you're confusing peace with terror. Like, well, you gotta start somewhere. And it has that feeling of like, yeah, it's great. It's a great AI is a great tool, but the data farming is like poisoning communities. And Krennic's like, well, something's always poisoning a community. What are you going to do? Like,
he's a tech CEO. He is.
There's that. There's the faux sadness at Lyra's passing that goes right into search the house. It's a bit of theater for Galen of like, oh, do you want to do the dance? Do you want to have a fake conversation? I'll have a fake conversation about your wife's fake dad, and then I'll also show you that I'm not fooling around and I'm taking you. His performance and the nuances in the way it's edited is just fantastic.
It's just the we're this close, just the first. And I agree with you. I think the read on Krennic is we've always described him as the climber. Again, catalyst, make your jokes, but he wants to get 3 rows closer to Palpatine at a conference. He's the type of people I love sitting back and watching when I'm in Vegas and there's like business conferences around me. I just love picking out the Krennics. Played. And also, coming into this film, we weren't sure what we're going to get, an Imperial Officer Imperial. If he's kind of the main villain, that we kind of maybe have we're used to dark side users. We're used to Palpatine, like you just said, but like it was a different take on it. I loved it. Sets up in the scene, and just watching these two performers go toe to toe.
Yeah,
playing the subtext.
I also think one of the other great things about this scene is Lyra just not being able to cope with going back. Yep. I think that when we've had discussions of like, oh, well, she probably should have just let her whole family be kidnapped, right? Would have been maybe live to fight another day. But I think there's something honest about it of what the Empire is, what they're asking Galen to do at that point, which of torture, take something beautiful like Kyber and make it blasphemous. Right. And again, you can get that more in Catalyst, but it's also there in the film. She talks about the Force and wears a Kyber crystal around her neck as a religious symbol to her. So I do love that honest to see somebody say, just no more. We're not going back with you. We can't go back. I'd rather risk death than go back with you. No more,
Indeed. Lyra felt in the influence of Jyn. Absolutely. All right. Number 7. We're only at number 7.
Oh, geez. That means I have to choose what's next. Okay. I'm going to go with this one. You might have this one. But then it'll free up for you to choose one of the other ones I want you to choose. I'm going to go with the scene where Jyn and Saw reunite.
Yes.
For the last time. I wanted to include a Saw scene because Forrest Whitaker is just fantastic in a film that we talk about. Like, ooh, look at this nuanced acting. Look at how much more grounded and gritty Rogue One is. And Forrest Whitaker is like, I'm in a slightly different movie than you all, but it works because that's who the character is, right? And that's the thing for me of like, you can talk about film acting and stage acting and how big should you go and what you should and you shouldn't do is like, be honest to the character and throw everything else out. And that's why it works, because it works for a character who they don't just believe in the cause or have choose the cause. They are the cause and there is nothing but the cause. And he is this fantastic picture of that. And I think, the scene is enjoyable for Rogue One, and the performance is great for Rogue One. But as we get more and more storytelling with Saw, he is often used in scenes as this blunt, angry tool who is berating other people for not being hard enough, for not fighting enough, for not giving enough. And especially as we get more and more of those scenes, it's so beautiful to get to see him be vulnerable in this scene and be honest with somebody that he has true emotional connection with, that there's not much of me left. I've always loved that line, and just re-seeing it again after all the time we spent with him. There's so many great lines in this scene, but I think the scene is fantastic because we've been, it's a mission. Everybody's concerned about the mission and the big picture, but for Jyn, it's emotional, and it's really uncomfortably emotional. It's like, we're on a search for your biological father, and in order to find him, we need to find your adoptive father. You feel rejected and disappointed by them, and don't really want to face or deal with either of them. And this is our first coming to it. And I think this is one of the first moments where the film really starts to remind us that the political and the personal are intertwined. There is Jin's fantastic line of Saw says to her, you can stand to watch the Imperial flag reign over the galaxy. It's not a problem if you don't look up. Fantastic line that has been quoted. It's a great instructional line, but I think it is also about that, there's a feeling that we certainly hear in real life where people feel like, well, I'm not political, so I shouldn't be affected by politics. Like, well, you might not do politics, but politics are going to do you. And I think Jyn knows that, and Jyn is trying to resist that. And I think they have this sort of this dogma conversation about it. But in this scene, the scene is so personal. You see Saw's vulnerability. You see Saw sort of like, you were my daughter, but you were also a soldier, and I trained you up, and then I thought you were kind of a risk to me and a risk to yourself, so I let you go. I put the mission, the cause over my personal feelings of I'd rather have you here as my daughter, and her feeling sort of, you were the second father that abandoned me. And it's so raw and it's so emotional, as well as being so political. And just the absolute rawness of Saw's, and I know a lot of us have poked fun at it, but it works so well. Did they send you? Did you come here to kill me? And there's not much of me left. I don't think there's anyone else in the galaxy that he says that to. I don't think there's anyone that he's that vulnerable to. And I think that line is the answer to when people are like, well, why didn't he at least try to run? Why didn't he at least try to escape? Like, because the cause has devoured him. He is barely alive. There isn't much of his body left. There isn't much of his soul left. There isn't much fight left in him. And when he sees the fight is back in Jyn, he can go. But that all flows from this line and the honesty of, there's not much left of me.
Yeah. You did take it off my list in the most wonderful way. But this is, I'll say, this might be where I put a little Final Cut Pro 10 blade.
Yep.
In a scene.
Good.
We'll get to that maybe.
Good.
I agree with you on every level. So well said. And yeah, you and I over the years have just really celebrated Saw Gerrera as a character. And that goes back to the Clone Wars stuff. That goes to the Rebels. That goes to even some of the stuff in the books. I mean, all the stuff in the books, the video games, anytime Saw shows up, he's one of my favorite characters, and it's one of my favorite performances. And I do know that, he was voiced differently in the Clone Wars. Acknowledge that, but like, it's just a masterclass to that he's given right there. And I laughed, but it's he is in a different film in a way. But unlike other things, and there's some moments in Star Wars I feel I could point to an actor being in another kind of show where I kind of rub up against it. This is not, because I think it leads here. Felicity Jones playing the character this way, and he's played it this way, and they all meet right here in the center, at the heart of the film. And I think this scene has a lot of the heart of the film in it. It is personal for me because in 2016 I was going through a lot of changes politically and not so socially as finishing some big changes socially over the last decade previous. But December 2016, I knew I had lived the life like Jyn was describing. I knew I had been let's look down. You just look down. Just have some fun. Just talk about 7-Eleven taquitos. That's all you got to do. And that line struck me. It really struck me. And some of our conversations with you on air, off air, that was a haunting line and an important moment for me. So I will never have this scene too far from my heart because of that. And then the flip side, just everything, especially now that what we know with Saw. But I agree, it is sad. It is. You described it so well. It's vulnerable, but it's a broken moment from a man who tried to do good his whole life, but approached it in a different way. And rest in peace, Tech, and all the people. But so I love the moment. And then in terms of the Star Wars of it all, I think it's got some meaty Star Wars stuff in it too. But and he's just a great character. But and I think these best of episodes you and I are doing about the movies are kind of an all-star game of things you and I have talked about for 12 years that we love celebrating. But I love getting them on the record here. I could live forever in his reading of "You're an Imperial science, daughter of an Imperial science officer." Like the way Forrest Whitaker kind of almost can't get the line out, like almost like it's a take where he didn't nail it right away. But like, I think it just works so well, and that's part of the reshoots because, as we all know, he had his shaved head look in the first trailer go around, and I think this is the right call. So, anyways, I could talk too long about this scene. I'm glad you chose it and said so many wonderful words about it. Love this scene.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of people are going to have personal relationships with parts of Rogue One. And I think it's fantastic that you highlight that.
It absolutely did. Star Wars can change minds if you let it. All right, but the pressure's on to number 6 because do I go small again? Do I go cute? See, okay. All right. I am gonna go. I'm gonna jump to the end because I don't think I would have listed this towards the end of the film. I don't think I would have listed this as a scene that it's part of a larger sequence. It's that, hey, how do we break up some of the big, 6 through 1 could just be the final fight on Scarif, and it could just big moment. I wanted to go to Jyn and Krennic having their final confrontation. This is also let's once again bring in some Catalyst kind of stuff and Rebel Rising. I think more than Catalyst even. Of this is the kind of the man in white that had kind of haunted Jyn's memories. Not necessarily knowing who he was, but he was around. He's kind of this Nazgul on the horizon that's always kind of been in her history related to her father and everything. And here's this confrontation. Here is this girl that he killed her mother in front of her, and we're kind of come to this point where they're having the final confrontation. I think it is to watch the fear of Mendelssohn's face be as he tries to cover it up with his power position and what's going to happen. He's saying just a lot of bullshit to her, but he's trying to believe it. I think it's played perfectly. And then Cassian has his comeback. And I think this is why I think in my first or second viewings of Rogue One, I talked about, came out of my first viewing, it's great Star Wars at ever Star Wars. Second viewing, I was like, I got a lot of questions and I didn't like things as much. I tried to movie sin it a little bit, and then I kind of settled into where I am now. But I didn't think he was dead when Cassian falls earlier, and then he has to come back, and I had a little bit of like, that's not a surprise. I knew he was going to show up there. I'm so far removed from that, especially 10 years on. I love it, but this sequence ends for me, and I cannot deny that in my viewings this weekend, putting together this list, stuff talked about and covered and seen in Andor absolutely made this scene more important for me, and I can't go back to 2016 and just live at that when I'm ranking this. I have to go forward, and the full story is now at our fingertips. And I think you know where I'm going, but do you think anybody is listening? And how valuable that's like a title of one of the episodes. That is the stuff you and I've talked about. The Gorman scene ends on that haunting radio call of is anyone out there, is anyone listening? And this is kind of what it's all about. And often when you're in these fights, when you finally look up and you're showing up at protests, or you're talking to your family members, or you're on a show and you're saying something and people are hating you for it, but you're standing up for what you believe, you kind of have this thought, does any of it matter? Does any of it matter? Am I changing any hearts? Am I doing anything for what I feel is right? And I think that's a lot of what Cassian's been dealing with, as we've seen now, but I think you can pick it up in this moment. And it's smaller in the film. It's smaller in my early viewings. It's like, yeah, Radis is listening. What are you talking about? To expand it into what it was, to expand it to be kind of almost a theme of at least the second half of season 2 of Andor. For me, it's kind of something that runs all the way through it. I absolutely love it. And I'll even include the shot of a Mon Calamari flipper going, Emeritus, we got a transmission. I'll include that there. I love all of there. Yeah. So again, I would not have put this on the list 5-6 years ago, but it's smack dab in the middle for me at number 6.
Yeah, I think it is fantastic that the entire final confrontation, including the heroic Andor, keeps climbing, keeps fighting, because climbing has been also a theme for Andor and for Rogue One. I think it's such a victory for Jyn, and it's such a kind of underrated badass line in all of Star Wars of, you know who I am. It's so powerful of like, I think in a way, I love how much you focus on, Krennic is the man in white who's haunted her, the man who stole her father and killed her mother, and set her off on this, not great, pretty rough life that she's had. But he is haunted by her too, of, there's always some problem. There's always some rebel that I can't pin down. And who is it? Who is it? Who is it who has brought me to my knees? Who is it? And he's so certain he's claiming he's certain he's won, but he is. I don't think he's like, all you've done is, set me back a little bit time wise. Like, there's such fear. And I think it is just internally to the movie, such a great payoff of him being told by both of her parents that he will never win. And I think that is an important story of, resistance and even just activism, not violence, not war, just let's make a change. We have to make a change, and having that confidence that in the long run, you will not win. I'm not going to change everything today, but I'm going to put, a drop in the bucket, and it's going to make a difference. And I think that's there in Jyn's, hey, this is the day where the drops in the buckets that my parents put in, I get to pay off. You know who I am. I'm daughter of Galen and Lyra Urso. And I think it's the same with Cassian's great. Do you think anybody was listening? It's not vexed. It's not pessimistic. It's almost more philosophical. It's almost the way I read it when I watched it last night with my wife was like Cassian has so fully accepted this mission, this cause is doing your part and having faith that the next person will pick it up and do their part. And he's almost at peace of like, I was tasked to be the messenger. I was tasked, to help the true messenger, Jyn. We got the message out. We did our part. Now I'm just sort of musing about what's next. It's like, anybody was listening because we did our part, and that's all we can do. And we can't control whether the next person picks it up and what they do with it. All we can do is our part. Is pretty powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if this is if we take this scene and just make it like a little movie, I think the end credits we can add on are Cassian and Jyn's final moment on the beach, and Krennic's looking up at the thing he spent his whole life about and go, I think just add those as little blips there as well.
Yep.
Yep. There you go. Anybody?
Yep.
Bad news for you, sir. You take it in our top 5.
All right. Let's see. I got 1, 2, 3. Ooh. So how many spots do I have left?
You've 3 more.
I have 3 spots left, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I'll go here. This is a big risk. This is a huge risk, and I might pay for it. But hey, that's the spirit of the rebellion. I'm going to actually go with a scene which is technically interlaced with the scene we just talked about. So you could almost combine them. And it is the Hammerhead maneuver that opens the shield gate. I don't always include action scenes, but when I'm just honest with myself about my favorite scenes, this is really, really high up there. And it's for a couple reasons. I think it is the way it's intercut with Jyn's final confrontation with Krennic, and with the fact that she's looking to the past her parents for strength that have led her to this moment, and she's also part of this alliance in this moment and relying on other people. The payoff of all the work that our crew Rogue One did. So it's meaningful. It's not just a cool action scene, but it's a cool action scene that is about. It's almost like a more subtle version of the Empire was toppled by Ewoks. They were toppled by murder bears because they thought they had no value. It's we have fewer resources, but we think outside the box and we put our resources to different uses. So I love that it's, the Raditz says, I got an idea.
So great.
Because that's what it's about. It's okay. If you just look at it in a strict way, how we can't. They've been probing that shield. They've been bombing it. They've been shooting it. Can't get through. But now they know they have to. Okay, so when you're pushed into that moment, you have to do something. Sometimes it makes you more clever. And I love that this is such a clever idea. They've managed to take down the one Star Destroyer with the ion bombs from the Y-wings, which is great. So it's just sitting there in dead space. So then, coming up with the idea for the Hammerhead called the Lightmaker to push the Persecutor into the Intimidator. Just the names, the Star Destroyers. It's so the Rebels. It's clever, unique, think outside the box, and it is just. It's cool as hell looking. It is the Imperial War Machine defeated by the Imperial War Machine. Push one of your big war machines and the other big war machine so it rains down on your other war machine. Is so cool, and it's cut together with that final scene with Jyn. So while we're kind of pumping our fists at what Jyn is saying, we know that Krennic is wrong. We know that Krennic has lost. We know the shield gate is coming down.
Right. Yes. Wow. You almost pulled a fast one, but I'm here for it. I do think these are two separate to me, two separate scenes. Definitely interconnected, but absolutely love it. From uh, our friend Radis, who we absolutely love, and always shout out to Steven Stanton and his voice and Paul Casey's work. But shout out to the Rebels episode in which Leia delivers these hammerheads, and shout out, I cannot remember who from the Rebels team, maybe a writer. Do you remember after Rogue One came out, like the next day or two, they posted a shot of the Rebels episode, and posted something like, "Not so much a filler episode now, huh?" It was like, oh yeah, yeah, love that. Yeah, this is because there's so much action in it, and your breakdown of it is just perfection in terms of analyzing it. I'd go to the emotional action upon my first viewing. A lot of it. Again, run to. It was Jeremy Johnson's +1, and we come out of the screening, and we very respectful, very quiet. We run to his car, and we get in the car, and we like both look at each other and scream like 10-year-olds, like, "Oh my god!" And that's because the battle Scarif is just this amazing Star Wars sequence, right? It's got playground, it's got the energy of action figures and video games, but it's got so much going on, and this is an example of it. One of the first things I said, I think as we were heading back to Collider, was like, I cannot believe I saw a Rebel ship push a Star Destroyer into another Star Destroyer. I cannot believe I saw that on screen. And that's just about pure action. But yet, with the music, with the moment, everything Krennic said, the lies Krennic's trying to believe, that is one of my favorite moments, too. I keep using this phrase, I could live in that for a while. This is one of the moments I could live in. Because it's beyond just this cool action sequence. It is about sacrifice, even though there was this great debate of the crew you see kind of escape, who got off and who died. It's a sacrifice to me any way you kind of slice it. It is the ingenuity of the rebellion. It is just Radis going, wait, hold on. Like, it's amazing. But it's also hauntingly beautiful, and it's this great picture. I mean, Persecutor being pushed into the Intimidator. Here we go. And it's a great sequence. So I'm glad you played loose with the rules, because this is great.
Excellent. You know what? One other thing about that scene, just talking about, because we tend to talk about the ideas, and sometimes I want to remember execution, because obviously the execution of the ideas is how they're powerful. There is sometimes a big, especially like big sort of, obviously there's some CGI going on in there. I'm sure some model work as well, but that it can feel like you're disconnected to it because it doesn't feel human, because it's too big in scale, right? When they start plowing into, I can't remember if I think it's people on the Intimidator, on the ship that's being crushed, but there's a shot of the chaos on the Star Destroyer, and there's the dude who slides, which and normally just like, the ship's falling apart, some dude slide, but someone. Gareth, maybe Tony Gilroy, maybe the stunt people, maybe the second unit. Somebody was like, no, when the dude's sliding, needs to slam his head into the desk. And then the sound team is like, and it's got to sound like he broke every bone in his face when he hits that desk. And it's a really visceral thing. It's a little small moment that you would not, unless you're doing a podcast, think about to analyze, but it makes two giant spaceships plowing into each other real, because there's a real human cost, and you hear a head smashing into a desk, and it's like the small human version of what is happening that lets us feel it. It's so well executed.
It is a great moment. Great scene. Number 4. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna cut out Gold Leader showing up. No, I'm kidding. I still love. I love that Gold Leader and Red Leader are there. I absolutely do. Shout out to Team Y-Wing. All right, number 4 for me. This is where we're getting to the nitty gritty, I think. And I'm gonna cross off some ones I'm not gonna choose. Oh, we're leaving some there. I'm gonna go back to the scene I mentioned earlier. This is where I definitely dropped the blade and edited the sequences apart there, because I do think they're two separate. They're all connected, obviously, but I think they're two separate things when I think about them. And this is when Jyn and Saw sees the hologram of her father. And Galen Erso gives the big message. There's a lot to this scene to talk about. And I think at the time, the conversation was more around some folks. This is speaking generally here. More folks were just kind of like, there was a little eye roll with the, so what we saw in New Hope, the exhaust port, was this guy? Does it really have to be that connected? Does it really have to be? And I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's like my favorite detail from Rogue One. I think it works for me. I think I believe it. I believe it because of Mads in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great performer, and he brings it in this moment. And then on the flip side, I've said this before. I think Felicity Jones' work in this scene is one of my favorite acting performances in Star Wars. And I think we have these moments through the other films up to this point, in the older era, the prequels and the sequels or original trilogy. But this is one of the moments that when I talked about the aesthetic and the tone being set up top of the cold open, it's this kind of moment. It's just special for me. And again, it's not a competition about who's a better performer and everything. I just think the work she does. This is this young woman who kind of lived with the thought that her dad was dead, and live with the thought of her dad kind of abandon her.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this tough life she's led. And yeah, she's looking down, but I understand that, I understand kind of how the direction her life took. And here she is at this point is still not fully looking up. She's still going through the change. Just have that realization of he's alive. I think was played so well by Felicity Jones. It's all in her eyes. And I will add in too, I think the scene really works because Saw's like, wait, what's that sound? He goes to the window to watch Jedha be destroyed. I think it's all part of it. I think and yes, it's kind of continuing the scene you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love everything going on in there, and it takes. I don't need to start the debate here. It's certainly not going to be with you, I'm sure, but like with anyone out there who doesn't like that detail. Again, I kind of understand it. I understand what you're saying of the exhaust port was him. Okay, I could get behind it, but I like that it is personal. It is about not just this rebel, imperial spy or turncoat turned rebel actor who we put this in here. He did it because he knew that's the way he could get back. He knew that they wouldn't suspect. I love when he explains, like, I needed to go kind of on the inside for survival, but that's the only way I could fight in this scene. And I just love anything about it. But if that makes sense to me, it's not just a little strategy. It is personal. It is coming from the heart of Galen Erso. So I can get behind it.
Yes. I think it took me a couple of viewings to appreciate how great this scene is, and this is one of the ones that was on my list. I was like, please, I think Ken will do it.
Yeah.
And I do think it is distinct because it is connected to the Jyn and Saw reunite scene, but that's about Jyn and Saw, and this is about Galen and Jyn and about the truth of what the Death Star is, because it is intercut with it firing in a fantastic directorial sound design choice to have all of this emotion, all of this truth, all of this rebellion happening between Galen and Jyn, and in the music all be about that, and the horror of the Death Star destroying Jedha City does not have at that point big booms and dun 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 dun. All of the music and the emotion it's this subtle way of telling us what these people are doing, what's happening between these people is important and real. In this horrific violence, this mass murder is petty horror. And in the end of the day, connection, creativity, the will to go on, all these things are going to be more powerful than this monstrous device they've made that is murdering, millions. I think that sound design choice in the editing choice to cut it together is really powerful. I got hung up on the Galen made the flaw, and this is one of those things that it has made in watching Star Wars and lots of other things better for me to embrace the story that we're presented with. For years and years and years, cherished the idea that the flaw was hubris, that you can build the biggest war machine, but there will be some small problem that you don't know about, or some small vulnerability, because nothing can ever be fully armored and fully safe. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a fine idea if you watched A New Hope that way. But I was kind of resistant because I was attached to that idea inside me that was never explicitly stated in the film A New Hope.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, now that it is just it's the story, I have come to love it so much because I think this scene and what you're talking about, the way people received it and what they paid attention to, thinking about all that, I didn't pay attention fully
Right.
to the fantastic performance that was being given by Jyn. I think that the story of Galen planting the flaw is I'm happy that it's there. It's better that it's there because I think what's going on in the scene is not only the relief from Jyn that her father is alive, he still cares about her, and she's the only thing he thinks about. And also, I think she spent some time thinking that they just broke him and he built a weapon for him. And I think that's to me an underestimated part of what this scene is of they both lost their family. They both lost everything. He watched his wife be murdered. He lost his daughter. He was kidnapped. He had every reason to break and just go, fine. And he found a way to continue to resist. And I feel like that is what turns her around from it's not a problem if you don't look up, to be like, my father had every reason to give up and there's always something you can do. And he found a way to do something. And I'm going to honor that. It so propels her through the rest of the film, the realization that he did not give up. And I think, I think in general, people are different, and some of us process things more emotionally and some of us process things more logically. And that's just, I think people are different and there's nothing wrong with that. But in so much as we have a choice when we are interacting with storytelling, this scene is always a reminder to me of you will get more if you let yourself interact with it emotionally over logically. And yes, an actual logic plot hole is something so disrupting that it stops you from being in the emotional flow. But this is such a great example of like, you can watch this with your canon nerd brain about the Death Star exposition, or you can watch it with your heart and watch this woman be given what she desperately needed, the knowledge that her father is alive, the knowledge that her father loves her, the knowledge that her father is a champion who decided to do something under the worst possible situations and is handing the baton of hope to her to do something. And the way this scene ends with Jedha's exploding, the transmission ends, and Jyn falls to her knees, overcome with emotion. It's fantastic.
No, well said as always. And I think, yeah, you're talking about what's the heart of what we do here, which, all right, if you don't like the color of the speeders on Tatooine, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Or the people I run into, I hated that Kenobi series. Why? He never left Tatooine. Let's talk about it. What if he did?
Yep.
Like, what if let's meet it there? Because again, I understand it. Like, if Galen had said, if the hologram was like, in their hubris, they've left open something that I've discovered. Like, I think it would have been fine. I think we could have had a lot of emotions, but it is personal. You mentioned community and connection. I think what also needs to be included in this sequence, whether it's a little cheat from our list or not, is the it's beautiful moment from Krennic. Miles up in space, watching what kind of looks hauntingly beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. I've done my job. I'm going to get a promotion or going to hold on to my thing. This is great. That is about the lack of connection. That is about destroying community. That is about drones from the air, the waging war from afar. And here we're seeing those fighting against that are connected. And the hubris is that they would think that Galen wouldn't still hold this in his heart, that he wouldn't hold his daughter or family in his heart. And so I think you can interact with it differently there. So anyways, monologue over.
Yeah, no.
This moment here.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I think it is powerful. We have obviously seen the Death Star blow up whole planets, and we saw Starkiller Base blow up a whole system. And those are kind of science fiction explosions. The fact that this destruction is so horrible and beautiful in a way that we have seen in the real world with some of the horrific bombs that we have built, where that's destruction, but there is something terribly, awfully beautiful in the aesthetic of it. The truth of what is happening is horrific. And I think there's something about the way that this use of the Death Star is depicted brings the absolute horror of what they made Galen create into a little bit of a deeper real world conversation about the horrible weapons that we have built in the real world and how much they've impacted our world.
Indeed. Absolutely, indeed. So that's number 4, Jyn, Galen, the hologram of connection, hope, and family, and a little bit of Krennic's "Oh, It's Beautiful" over there. We're at number 3. You got 2 more.
Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Cassian Breaks. This is the scene after they have been on Edu, after the Rebel Alliance has bombed it. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old scene.
I love it. Yes, absolutely.
This is also just a like looking at my heart and like, ooh, what would I list? This is just such a fantastic scene for Cassian. I think it is made even richer by Andor, but I've always loved it, this sudden ferocity, because he's a character throughout Rogue One who's kind of playing things pretty cool. We see the flashes of him working through things and worrying about things, the look on his face after Tivic when he's told that some people carry their prison with them, when Chirrut says that to him, and he thinks like, too close to home. You know, we know there's stuff roiling. We're watching him decide whether or not to assassinate this man, and we watch him decide not to. And then this explosion of righteous anger full of powerful, relatable, real world things. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. We don't all have the luxury of deciding when and where we want to care about something. You're not the only one who's lost everything. Some of us just decided to do something about it. It's also very real and very powerful. It's also just like the surface of it is a scene about anger of Jyn is only had half her. She hasn't been committed. We had to drag her along. Cassian yet doesn't see how committed she has become. He doesn't get it yet. He's protected her. He ran to save her on the platform and tried to stop the bombing and said, no, Jyn is on the platform. So we know that he cares about her, and we know he sees her as a person of value to be saved and protected, like everybody he meets. But this is just like, it's so relatable when you are under so much pressure and you're trying to hold it in, and you don't feel like other people around you fully understand what you have been through and the difficulty of what you're trying to do. And even though it's someone you care about, and even though it's someone you probably agree with, you just break. And you have to have your monologue of like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. The dinner was a little cold tonight. Here's what the bleep I've been through today. Here's what I've been holding together for the last 5 years. Like, it's so that, as well as so politically powerful and relevant. And then there's just, it becomes so much richer with Andor of everything and everyone that he has lost. I think some people can get kind of a logic cannon head about I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And then surprised in the first season of Andor that he spends most of the season resisting being in the fight. But what I love about this is him realizing, oh, ever since my life was destroyed on Canary, everything that happened to me was because of the Empire. And I had those moments where I did resist, where I attacked the troops after they killed my dad, where when I killed those corpos looking for my sister, like, I was never not in this fight, and it came to me. It literally came to me. I was, picking berries on Canary and living my life. Yeah. And it came to me, and I think it's great that he has thought about his life differently. Like, I didn't join this fight when I went to Luthen and said I'm in at the end of Andor season 1. I started this fight when it came to me when I was 6 years old. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, no, well said, and a great selection here. It was on my list for certain. And I think this is a scene a lot of people point to back then and even now. I think without a doubt, I'm going to say, fuller, richer with Andor, because now you can as he's talking, you can do that, YouTube supercut of where they cut away to Bix and his mom and all the things there, and Brasso and all the stuff. You could do the greatest hits of Andor season 1 and 2 in his mind at this point. But I like how it's played. I don't mean to cut it with a joke, but watching them argue is a little bit like certain corners of the internet where someone's like, "All right, that's it. I'm joining your cause." Oh, now it took now, and I think that's real though. I think the frustration is real, and this is a moment too at the time was like, we talked about with some of the stuff going on in this film of him killing Tivic. This is kind of the continuation of that kind of vibe of like, yeah, they weren't all getting along. This wasn't just A team versus B team. This wasn't Yankees versus Dodgers. This was, you had the Empire, you had what's going on there, but you had this coalition, this alliance is full of real people, real experiences, and real disagreements and real points of friction. I think it was praised correctly for that then. And then some of the stuff that comes out even then of one of my big things was, holy crap, Cassian Andor was technically kind of a separatist as some of the stuff we learned in some of the research material and some of the stuff going on in the books of just, and I don't, and as we go on, that's not necessarily 100% correct, but it's the vibe, right? Mm-hmm. He wasn't just, rebel. He was the distrust of the Jedi and the Force, all that stuff that's present with Shared Emway and Baze Malbus. You see it there, it comes to fruition there, and then then Andor season 1 comes along, and out of it, it initially was like, wow, wait, what are they doing here? They're changing the trivia fact I memorized, but they did it in a spectacular fashion, and I think sets it up for what you're talking about. Yeah, no, the fight was always here. I was never out of it, and I just had to come to that realization. And maybe Jyn can come to that too, though the experience is definitely different with her. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a powerful moment. I think this is a conversation starter about
working together. Yeah.
Well, working together. There you go.
Yeah. I also just think this is another great example of it works just fine by itself. If there had never been Andor, it would be fantastic. Yep. There's also so much richer because I think we've got to see the journey that Andor has gone on with this question of how do you fight in an oppressive regime. And I think what's happening is, for Cassian, it's not either or. It's not community, trust, organization, or brutal mercenary. And I think Luthen was sort of like, it's always brutal mercenary. You just have to use the tools of the oppressor to kill the oppressor. That's just what you need to do. And then there's the more Mothma side of it of like, we can't take action without coalition. It's got to be about trust. And he's been a part of both of those camps. And he kind of chose the camp that is more about trust and working together and being honest with one another. But he also has had life experiences like, yeah, but sometimes there's no way out but doing this brutal, violent thing. And I think he's in a place where like, I decide, I choose. It's not either or. It's situation by situation. And it's torture. To constantly be the agent with the gun deciding which one is it this time? Is it be honest or is it you got to do something brutal and awful? And I think him feeling like I disobeyed orders, and that's a big thing. And I did it because I listened to my gut that killing was not the solution in this instance. And I made this torturous decision that I've been making again and again and again. And you're yelling at me about it. You don't know what I've been through, So I think it works just in Rogue One. There's also about this. There's something about this that's a little bit of Cassian saying, "Have you not watched Andor season 1 and 2, or so? Do you not know what I've been through?
Did you not see me kill Tivic? Did you not get that question right?
Do you not have Disney Plus, Jyn, or so?
Yeah, I can't share you my password anymore, but it's great. So, all right, so that is number 3. That is number 3. I've been in this fight, but let's go from there to my number 2, and let's slide right into what I think is a moment of triumph, a moment of victory, and something that maybe I think I won't speak for you again, but maybe I used when kind of telling people after season 1 and parts of season 2 that, don't trust that Luthen guy. His philosophy isn't what wins in the end. Don't worry, Then I start fights with friends. Then we become Cassian and Jyn arguing, some friends of mine. But it is the moment post Jyn makes her case. They don't take it. And he comes out and she's kind of like defeated and he's there and he's got his squad. He's got the team. You got Baze going, how many do you need? You got Sheridan way there. Two great characters, by the way. I just think it's a great moment. I think especially now that we've spent so much time with Cassian, but also, like you said, it just works in this moment because I think the Tivic scene, because of the stuff that you're talking about, because he doesn't shoot Galen and he's like, give me some credit. But I think the just Diego Luna playing the very small, powerful moment of like, this has got to be, all this has got to mean something. All these kind of things I've questioned myself about doing, all the bad things I've done and knew I had to do. All the infighting again now with the knowledge of 2 seasons of Clea, Vel, Luthen, you can see them in his voice. They're there, much like we say and have said for years. Alec Guinness gave us these moments of new hope that inspire entire, swaths of Star Wars storytelling. I think some of it's here with Diego Luna's performance. You're able to kind of go back and go, what do we do with this character? Let's build to this moment. This thing that he's doing isn't like you and I keep talking about. Isn't just congratulations, Jyn, you're on the Rebels. Here's your uniform. Let's go fight because we all love each other. This moment is him realizing that hasn't been the case, and in fact, he is defying the alliance at this point. He is acting on his own, and they're acting on their own. And I think I think it is just a wonderful moment. It is a moment of victory in a dark and gritty film that has sadness, that has an ending that we didn't think Disney would let these people do. It is to me what makes the sacrifice that follows so worth it. It came from his heart. It wasn't just, the mission wasn't be loyal to the rebellion, though he is, but you know what I mean? It wasn't a sign. And I think maybe going into Rogue One, knowing what the story was going to be about, I thought it was going to be as simple as that. We got our group of spies, go on in there, do this thing, and that's going to be cool, right? Some Star Wars coolness. And I wasn't expecting people of different backgrounds and perspectives, and maybe I should have, based just reading on the prologue of New Hope alone, or reading Mothma's introduction of the Return of the Jedi novel could have given me the clues, or watching Rebels. But you know what I mean? Like, and so this moment of him going, no, I know our leaders have said this, but we have to do this, and I'm here with you. Powerful moment.
Yeah, I think there's also kind of a lesson in don't fill your head with preconceived notions by what even the creators sometimes say. And maybe it was more of a PR choice, but I remember the term heist film being used a lot.
Yes.
And so I think I went into it thinking like, okay, in a heist film, it's often about you're spending time with a group that is kind of forced to come together and they're stressed and it's their internal conflict. I think I was expecting like, Chirrut and Baze are going to have a different perspective than K2SO. And like, it's going to be about that kind of, and they're trapped in some confined space and they have to pretend to be someone they're not. And like, it's bigger than that. It is that dynamic, but it's the entire rebellion, But I always loved this scene, and I always was excited about Andor because, as you and I talked about a lot before the show came out, and people weren't sure about it. It was like, watch the Andor volunteer scene. That's the log line for this television show of that we have done awful things, and it has to be worth it because we did it all for a cause. And it goes. If the Cassian break scene is him sort of like processing the trauma and the fury of what he has been through, this is the acceptance. This is the hope. This is the community and connection. This is like, I'm going to defy these orders because they aren't orders. They're a decision to do nothing. And I can't do nothing. And I need to make it right. It needs to be about hope, not just about revenge. So it needs to be about making a difference. This scene has always worked for me, but I do think it is insanely richer for Andor because I almost got teary watching it last night because this is a Cassian who watched the hologram of his mom say F the Empire, not sit around and wait and hope. This is Luthen, who is like, you got to do something. This was Bix saying, we have to win. We'll sacrifice everything. And knowing what's going through his head about the force healer saying, you have this all these skills that are going to build to the point where you're going to have a destiny, a path is going to be placed in front of you, and you are going to have to choose which road you take. And Bix believed in that choice, in his value so strongly that she left him. And he's got to be thinking about all that too, of like, this feels like a crossroads of either we try to make this big move. He saw the Jedha City destroyed. He knows what they're up against.
Yeah.
And everything is worth it. All the chips on the table, I think, for Andor. In a gritty movie where he's saying we all killed a lot of people and it's got to be worth it. It's so hopeful, and it builds up to the scene ends with that beautiful moment between Jyn and Cassian, of Jyn saying, "I'm not used to people sticking around when things go bad," and welcome home, which is echoed in Andor season 2. And to me, it's just beautiful. It's that place of when you know you're making the right decision and you can feel it in every cell of your being. And it ends on a moment of connection and trust and mutual respect between Jyn and Cassian, which makes it a really beautiful scene.
I love that you invoked the opening of season 2,
Mm-hmm.
the home speech. That's great. I don't think I had thought about that in that little minute detail. Wonderful. Well, that's just number 2, and I put the pressure on you for number 1.
Yes, this is great, because that was going to be my number 1. But I was sure you were going to do this other scene. So I think maybe this is all works out for the best. Maybe the Force is working, because I think in some ways this should be the number 1 scene. This is almost like this scene being number 1 is almost like, when somebody asks you your favorite character. For me, it's often Obi-Wan Kenobi. For a long time, it was Luke Skywalker. And it's like, well, I can't say that. That's like asking, like, what's your favorite ice cream? Like, it's vanilla. Right. It's like, It's really good, but it's the answer that everybody expects. My number 1 scene from Rogue One is going to be Jyn makes her case to the Rebellion Council. There are so many of the fandom's favorite lines in here. So many of our favorite lines. I know you love the what is he proposing? Awkward voice from the crowd. I absolutely love Noah Jabel's "A Death Star. This is nonsense." And I think also this can be. I think people can feel like. Is this a scene about being naive, or is this a scene about, yes, the odds are long and hope isn't naive? It's what you need to do. I think at the heart of it, there's Jyn's relationship with her father. The change that has happened to Jyn is in this scene. The rebellions are built on hope line, I think, can feel a little like, it's a bumper sticker. Great hope,
Right. Yeah.
But I think when you look at what is going on in the movie and in this scene, the argument that Jyn is making and getting extremely active pushback from all the people who want to do nothing because it's too scary is the point of rebellions are built on hope. Is almost anything difficult or frightening in life is built on hope. Anybody succeeding at any of their life dreams. Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to open a sandwich cart? All of those things are built on hope because there is so much stacked against you. This is a film and a story about a massive fascist empire. But I think it's true of how we all proceed in life of if we write it down on paper, the odds are against us. And so are you going to give in to that and say it can't ever be done? Or are you going to say it's better to at least try? Because if we try, we have a chance of winning. And it's in this case, it's life or death. But it is an audience. We can, and who knows the history of Star Wars, we can point and laugh at Noah Jabal and Tierna Palmo, who are like, no, it's too dangerous, it's too big. And even General Merrick, who I like because he's got a cool mustache and he flies great. He's like, they have a weapon of mass destruction and we don't. So, what are we going to do? And like, we're not playing a board game where you can count the numbers. it's life
Right.
and it's odds, but you gotta defy the odds. All these people
Mm.
pushing back on her, and Jyn holds on to this baton.
Mm.
The actual message, the words "rebellions are built on hope" are a baton that we now learn goes even goes farther back. Who first said that to the Gorman hotel clerk, who passed it to Cassian, who passed it to Jyn, who Jyn passes it back to Jyn. Jyn, you all have a tattoo that says this. That's the point. That's the whole thing that we're doing here. Rebellions are built on hope. So even that phrase is a baton, but it is really like, this is the moment. This is the all is lost moment at the end of Act 2 into the final conflict of Act 3 in traditional story structure, where this baton that's been passed from Lyra and Galen and Saw in Luthen and Clea through Andor, this is the moment where it's going to be dropped. It's going to be dropped. And Jyn is insisting, no, it has to keep going. I think it's so powerful, this Star Wars story. It's so powerful to Rogue One. Such a powerful argument that hope is not naive. It is just the fuel you need to keep going when the odds are high. There's so much in this scene that's powerful and valuable. Not the least of which is the fin slap of Radis saying, "I say we fight."
Indeed. So this is the scene that I didn't even write down because I knew you were going to talk about it. You thought I was going to talk about
it. I told Sarah last night, she's like, I don't need to, she was like, I think that's the best scene. I was like, I don't need to write it down because Ken's going to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is Sarah's choice, and Sarah Scrimshaw has listed our number one scene. No, you know what? Funny, as we were talking about it, we're talking about it too. I'm like, oh, maybe Joseph didn't talk about the scene because maybe I think through the years I've equated your distaste, your almost fun distaste for Noah Jabel as why you'd love this scene, but that's just a small part of it. I was like, oh, maybe I miscalculated. But no, I think, yeah, and it's got so much. I say we fight. What does she propose? All these kind of Star Warsy kind of trivia moments and moments we love as fans. And yeah, I think coming out of the first couple viewings, I think I wouldn't have listed this one as my favorite scene or worthy of number one in a conversation like this. I think I got caught up, just like you were talking about with some of the Galen hologram stuff. I got caught up in her naivete, or the rebellions are built on hope. Almost kind of had an eye roll reaction in me, like, oh God, is it bumper sticker stuff? I think I got caught up in that. And then I will say, reading the novelization, Alexander Freed's novelization, this is like part of she was there for like hours. Like, it was a long scene. Like, it was this thing. And though I do agree, you can't always say, hey, the book does that to this scene. That helped me kind of like, okay, a little more weight to it. I just kind of needed to hear that it wasn't just the whole rebellion comes down to 30 seconds that she's got to speak like it's a speed round in a game show. But I think this scene and sequence has it sets up some stuff we just talked about with our number two moment. Obviously, I think it's got everything that the movie's dealing with right here, and all the things you and I keep talking about, the frustrations, the political frustrations, the political realities, also the reality. Like, yeah, what do we got against that? What can we do? Like, I could understand if you're like, I don't know if we got a chance at this point. I can understand having that, but it should lead to conversation. All should lead to the point that I think Cassian and Jyn and the crew of Rogue One get to. So yeah, it sets it all up. And again, keep going back to it. But I think it's important of where I was in 2016 of it just was just, Rebels all got along. They high-fived in the dugout and their goals were all unified and they had no debate on how to get there. I just hadn't thought about that growing up in the 80s. I don't think we were told or conditioned, and there were no podcasts to tell us to think about it in a different way. And it's just the way I kind of viewed it. And so again, we're only a few years into this new era of Star Wars storytelling at this point. We already got some great stuff going on in Rebels, coming out of the Joy of Force Awakens, which was a movie that, famously we talked about had a lack of the state of the galaxy and a lack of some of the politics. This did not. It wasn't as direct as say Andor deals with later on. We didn't spend a lot of time with Mothma addressing the government and all this stuff. But like this is a very political scene. It's very much we can point to other people in our real world who were like, you're a Noah Jabal, you're Senator Pamela, you're this, or it makes me love Radis even more. I say we fight the flipper of rebellion. So yeah, nothing much I can add to it other than I think it's justified. I think it is everything. It is a cross section of everything. And on Jyn's speech, on the what I once thought was naivete. I don't think. I think it's strength. I think it is a belief that's burning. It's not fading away. It's a belief that's earned. It's a belief from what she's seen. And yeah, she changed a little late. She looked up later than maybe others would have liked her to, but she's here now and she's committed, maybe even more than them. And again, I understand some of the trepidation. I understand some of the doubt. I understand some of the strategy. Like, great, what do we do? We don't have yet. I got an idea with Hammerheads. We don't have any of that. That's later on. I understand it, but you needed Jyn to give this moment, and Andor needs Jyn in this moment. He reacts to that. He reacts to her belief. And the rebellions are built on hope. Over the years, totally fine with it because it's true. But Andor even helped me more. I like the hot potato. I like the here to here to here. I think it's important and valuable. So a great number one scene.
Yeah, but yeah, very, very happy with the way the list turned out, and I think it's just a good little litmus test if you're feeling rough. To like, look at that scene. Do you want to be Jyn or do you want to be Noah Jabel?
Yeah, that's a question she'll ask herself. So there you go. So Sarah Scrimshaw is the winner today on Star Wars Ranked with her number one choice. Right. Some close calls for me. I was going to be a little cute and put the Vader Krennic business scene. I think I really do like the scene. Number one, Vader's castle's damn cool. I think we actually had, and it does, we actually had James Earl Jones. And then, it sounds a little different. And now we have a different use of his voice that's maybe controversial in the grander scheme of things. But I think Ben Mendelsohn makes this scene for me too. Even after getting choked and getting that little bleep eating grin of like, oh, okay, still my project. I love it. I also was going to put the prison, prisons, more than one prison type of prison scene. But I was going to put Tarkin apologizes to Krennic. I'm one of the ones that Tarkin is a less of a problem for me in this movie. I'm okay with it. Still think the Leia doesn't look as good. Maybe we get a remastered version 10 years later. I don't know. But I love the Tarkin apologizes to Krennic. I love just what's at stake there. And we talk about the rebellion fighting. This is what's going on this side. A bunch of power-hungry doofuses who are just going to step on each other's toes and bleeps until they tear the whole thing down and eat each other up. So I love that scene too.
Yeah.
Any ones for you?
Yeah, that scene was close for me. Vader's castle is fantastic, and I almost wanted to include that scene just for the introduction of Vader's castle and seeing Vader's home life. But we stand here. I'm like, my achievement. Great. I almost wanted to this is just a line. I almost wanted to include this scene where the bombs go off on Scarif because I love the desperation in Krennic's voice of like, are we blind? Deploy the gas. And again, that's one that works if you only see Rogue One. But knowing like his old buddy, Partagaz, just shot himself because he was going to be killed for failing the Empire, it adds a little something to it. It's not, he's just like, if this doesn't work, I either get promoted and have everything I've ever wanted, or I die because they're going to kill me if this doesn't work out, which they do in their own way. It's so good. I will shout out the other scene that my wife wanted me to include, which is where Jyn gets on board the U-Wing for the first time and has the interaction with K2SO. And where of K2SO has a lot of great comedy lines. We haven't talked about K2SO a bunch, about her getting a blaster and the odds of her betraying high, very high. But as my wife pointed out, that really great moment where Jyn says to Cassian, "Trust goes both ways." Yes. And there's that building block of Cassian be like, "Fair enough. I would not want to be sent into a war zone without a blaster, so I'm not gonna beef with you about it." Yeah, they're really good.
I think it's a great scene.
Really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely shout out Alan Tudyk and K2S. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we were doing moments, we'd have a lot more K2 moments, his death. We'd have Radis and the Lions jumping out of hyperspace, but why it's fun to talk about scenes. Anyways, any more on your list?
Oh, the other one that I was tempted by is because it is just a phenomenal action scene, and so is the character. Jarrett kicking all those stormtroopers' ass is really a fantastic action scene, and it does show us the character.
It does indeed. Great stuff. That's our list. 10 years later, what are your favorite scenes in Rogue One? Let us know if you're watching on YouTube down below, or reach out on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We do want to hear from you here. This has been a lot of fun, and we move on to an episode 50 plus years in the making. Well, coming up on 50, I should say. Looking at A New Hope next, but a lot of fun here with Rogue One. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/ForceCenter. Check out our merch store, links down below on YouTube, or go to Fourth Wall or TeePublic to get merch for the show. And follow me at Cadnapstock or my website, cadnapstock.com. In the description on YouTube is a link to Joseph's website where you are putting up your short films right now.
Yes, that is right. I just put one up last week about a trip to Norway and my heritage there. And it's kind of a little horror movie about my heritage. And Ken has a cameo. So check that out on my YouTube page.
There you go. All right. That is it for now. We'll see you next time. Star Wars has been ranked.